Welcome to The Explainer. You've seen this happen, right? A crisis erupts somewhere to the south or southeast of Europe, and suddenly the political response looks, well, confusing. But what if it isn't confusion? What if it's a predictable pattern, a hidden divide in how the continent actually processes war? Today, we're going to give you the key to unlock that pattern.
Okay, so let's dive right into the heart of this puzzle. A crisis strikes, maybe in the Middle East, maybe somewhere else, and Europe, this group that's supposed to be full of allies, suddenly looks totally fractured, disunited.
So here's the real question we have to get to the bottom of. Why do these allies react so differently, and honestly, so predictably differently, to the exact same threat? It feels like chaos every time, but it's really not.
And the answer isn't that the response is random or just based on political whims. The truth is, there are two different, competing logics at play every single time. And trust me, once you see them, you are never going to unsee them.
So let's get to it. Here is the key that unlocks this entire pattern. We're going to use a really powerful framework to understand this divide, and it's a concept called Citadel versus Shore. First up, we've got what we call Citadel Europe. Now think of countries like France, Germany, and the UK. For them, a war isn't some brand new event. It's more like an update to a strategic file that's already open on their desk. Their focus is on the long-term threat. Things like Iran's nuclear program or broader regional instability. The goal is to manage it, to discipline it, to make sure the larger security architecture holds up.
But then, in stark contrast, you have Shore Europe. Think of countries like Spain, Norway, or Turkey. They don't see a file. They see an event that ignites a chain of consequences. Their focus is laser-sharp on the spark itself, the initiating act, whether it was legal, and most importantly, the immediate spillover that's about to wash up on their shores. We're talking disrupted shipping, energy shocks, and migration flows.
So let's boil this down, right? This is the fundamental difference in how they see the world. The Citadel sees itself as a manager, handling a persistent threat and trying to restore order from above. The Shore, on the other hand, sees itself as the receiver of all the fallout, trying desperately to stop a dangerous chain of events from below before it spirals out of control. And this is absolutely crucial to get. We're not just talking about minor policy disagreements here. These are two entirely different ways of organizing and making sense of reality itself.
Just look at how they see time. It's completely different. The Citadel is all about duration. It's thinking in these long, strategic arcs about threats that have been building for years. But the Shore? It's organized by sequence. It's thinking about ignition, spread, shock, what just happened, right now, and what's going to happen next.
And this different way of thinking extends to how they see space. Literally, the map. The Citadel speaks from a position of protected depth. It kind of sees the conflict zone from above, like a field that needs to be managed. The Shore, though, speaks from a position of exposed adjacency. It sees what washes in from that conflict, what shows up at the port, at the border, in the shipping lane. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It crystallizes the whole thing. For the Citadel, the world is mapped by alliance corridors, by missile ranges, by diplomatic channels. But for the Shore, the world is mapped by shipping corridors, by tanker routes, by asylum queues. Both maps are real. The difference is which one feels way more urgent in a crisis.
Okay, so let's look at the evidence. Because this split isn't just some abstract theory, it's a deep, reoccurring European habit. It's not a one-off reaction to a single crisis.
You can trace this pattern back through recent history. Think about the huge rupture over Iraq back in 2003, or the deep divisions over the Libya intervention in 2011. Fast forward to 2024, and you see countries like Spain, Ireland, and Norway moving to recognize Palestine. That is classic Shore thinking, trying to interrupt a destructive sequence. Meanwhile, the Citadel states, they wanted a longer, managed process. And the Red Sea crisis, it just showed the physical side of this, where the economies of shore nations were the first to feel the pain.
But, and this is a really important but, this map is not rigid. It's not like they're these unchanging blocks of countries. Think of it as a heuristic, a mental shortcut for understanding these patterns that keep popping up. Politics is always more complex than a simple chart.
Actually, the mixed cases are what make this framework so useful. Take Italy. Its leaders will often use Shore language, condemning a strike, but they'll act in a Citadel way by supporting regional defense. Germany's also mixed. It gets the Shore concerns like migration, but it absorbs them into a Citadel hierarchy that always prioritizes the main strategic threat. And then you have a country like Switzerland,
Obviously not a literal shore, but its critique, which is always focused on legality first, echoes that shore logic perfectly. All right, to make this tool really sharp for you, we have to be super clear about what this distinction is not. It is very, very easy to misread this as some kind of morality play, but it just isn't.
So myth number 1. A really common mistake is to assume the shore position is somehow pro-adversary or anti-West just because it questions the legality of a particular strike.
But in reality, it has absolutely nothing to do with that. It's just a more exposure-sensitive kind of politics. It's a different hierarchy of what matters most, and it's born from a much greater sensitivity to fallout and uncontrolled consequences.
Now, on the other side of the coin, it's really easy to caricature the Citadel position as just being war-hungry or blindly following its allies into a conflict.
But the truth is a lot more serious than that. The Citadel also fears chaos, but it genuinely believes that the main, long-term threat must be disciplined with controlled force to preserve the larger order for everybody.
So here's the bottom line on all that. This is not a battle between warmongers and peacemakers. It's not a simple North versus South map. It is a serious disagreement between two totally legitimate ways of ranking danger in a crisis. It's all about which danger you put first.
Ultimately, it all comes down to a difference in trust. Citadel Europe trusts that managed power can restore order, so its question is always, how do we act from above? Shore Europe is just more skeptical. It asks, wait a minute, has the very thing we did to defend order actually made the disorder on the ground worse? And now you have the tool. The next time a crisis blows up and you hear European leaders speaking, listen really closely. Don't just hear the words, listen for the grammar. Are they speaking from the Citadel, or are they speaking from the shore? Once you can hear that, the hidden logic behind all the headlines will suddenly become crystal clear.